Hello everybody and welcome to Knowledge as We See It, the show where we explore what engagement means to us in the modern workplace. I'm your host, Daniel Nathan. Today we're going to be hearing from Philip Redford, the Technology Enhanced Learning Lead at the NHS in Dorset. Phil will be telling us about his use of visual communication and video within the NHS to share knowledge and engage audiences both internally and externally. And for those of you who don't know what the NHS is the sole social healthcare in the UK and is a British establishment. Phil, it's great to have you on the Knowledge as We See It podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
That's quite all right, and morning to you.
Brilliant stuff. Phil, before we get into the main crux of the conversation, it'd be really interesting if you can maybe give us a little bit about your background, where it is you came from, and what is it that brought you into the role that you're doing today?
Okay, well, I'm from Weymouth in Dorset. It's the sunny part of the UK for most of the year. It is today. I've worked within learning and development side of the NHS for over 25 years. I've been mainly focused around sort of soft skills, so things like basic life support, patient handling, first aid, those sort of topics that we teach. And then I moved into the technology side probably about 5 years ago. Previous to that, I spent about 12 years working in various sort of IT roles locally, building computers, fixing computers, and getting involved in all those sort of things, really.
Okay, Phil, that's absolutely fascinating. I really also find interesting how you said that you were involved in the training of life-saving skills, which essentially, I guess, are certainly within the NHS and that medical profession. It's essential that learning content you create around those skills cannot just be simple tick boxes, check boxes exercises, right? This is where content needs to be created and staff needs to be trained on essential, as you say, life-saving skills. So it'd be really interesting as the conversation develops further, how you've managed to essentially ensure that the content that you've created is engaging and actually sits and remains within the minds and thoughts of the employees. So it's really interesting. I'm going to ask you another little question here. Could you tell me the best piece of career advice that you've ever been given?
Best bit of career advice was never apply for a job in IT because you will never ever get it. And from that bit of advice, I made sure that I was always involved in IT somewhere along the line.
Explain that one to me.
So that was a careers advisor from school who, obviously looking at what I was doing at school, decided I would never go into computing. And from that day on, when I left school, I made sure that the only job I ever did was in computing somewhere. That person got every single job acceptance I ever received from that day on.
Good for you. Good for you. Excellent. And then tell us, if you can, an interesting fact about yourself that perhaps many people don't know, Phil.
Yeah, hidden ones. So I've got a couple of tattoos, one which is Animal from the Muppets, one which is Grumpy from Snow White. Something to do with my personality, I'm being told, somewhere along the line.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me about the Animal one from Muppets. What does that mean? What does that symbolise?
That's probably mad, chaotic, crazy, and then I think Grumpy is, as it says, Grumpy. So maybe that's me somewhere in between now and again.
Okay, brilliant. So Phil, let's jump straight into the main discussion. As you know, and our listeners know, this podcast is all about knowledge engagement, right? And knowledge sharing and the effect that visual experience and visual communications can have on knowledge sharing. So tell me a little bit about your experience with using video for the purposes of knowledge sharing and knowledge engagement. What effect does it have on the viewers?
So I think from the point of view of the NHS, where I am now, I see the way we look at the workforce today, there's never enough time to develop ourselves. We're working in a really, really busy environment. If you can get 15 minutes a week to develop yourself, you'll be lucky. So it's how can we increase that amount of time that people actually have to develop themselves and learn new things and new skills sometimes. So a lot of staff I've come across over the years, if they want to learn something new, if they want to fix something, they'll be on their phone looking at YouTube. They won't be looking at any of our systems. It'll be like, I just need a quick answer. So if that's something like, how do I air fry a chicken, how do I fix something, they go to YouTube to find it, or they go to another video site. Um, Whatever it is, all we're looking for is a quick fix to probably life's challenges, really. So time for us is just really, really scarce, and we need to use it effectively, really effectively. So video content for me that we've been producing for the last probably 5, 6 years now, we've we've really concentrated on getting it down to like short, maximum of 5 minute video content that people can grab off a QR code or grab off a poster in some format, um, that they can download, watch later, but also learn from and go back to time after time. So I think that's been a really, really big bonus for a lot of our staff is how you actually get hold of information and learn in a different way that's been done over the years, which is just being standard. Come to a classroom, spend all day there, and go away at the end of the day, possibly not even learning anything. So at least with the video content, we know people go back and they watch it again and again and again, which to me says they're looking for knowledge and information. And what we're able to do is then hook other videos onto those so they can learn a whole series of things. So they might just come to watch one thing, but then all of a sudden they're watching lots of other content, which nobody's asked them to do that, but that's really, really good. Um, so bite-sized video training that's available 24/7, 365 days a year, being watched over and over again, is just really useful for our organisation. And for us, in our own service in learning development, we're able to take some of that video content and embed within our larger courses, so some of our e-learning courses, um, or maybe some of our bigger video projects. We will embed other video within it. So it's yeah, it works really well for us.
You just alluded to a few minutes ago, Phil, regarding employees being able to access video content by QR codes. Could you expand on that a little bit? Under what scenario, what situation would a QR code or a barcode be available for them? Why might they want to scan it? And what kind of information, what kind of training materials would they be looking for in that sense?
Yeah, so we use a couple of different methods really. So QR codes people have got used to in the last 2 years during COVID for scanning all sorts of things, which a lot of people weren't used to or didn't want to engage with, but now they're out there. People don't mind scanning one and seeing what it does. So for us, being able to produce things like posters on walls in some of our busy services where staff literally don't get time to even look at emails during the day. If we want to meet new people in the team or we want to give them some information really, really quickly, we can put a QR code on a poster on a staff notice board that they can scan. It shows them a video, they can download the video, watch it later, watch it on the way home on the bus, do whatever they want with it. But it's there, they've got it. Whereas if we send that in an email, they probably won't even read it, they won't click on it. So having those available on posters on walls is really, really time beneficial for us as well, and really easy for them, and it's quite entertaining because we can change the content behind it. So it might be a monthly bulletin that's behind that QR code. So yeah, it's about how can we do things differently.
Well, that's excellent. As you're telling me that, I'm imagining myself being in a situation where, yeah, you go up to a notice board, as you say, and instead of reading through, like I'm imagining pamphlets, right, like pages and pages of documents that you just put in a pin on the wall and expect people to look through it, or as you say, expect people to have time to check through their emails. But I like how you've said there how you can have one QR code on the notice board, for example. And that, as you say, that QR code can be updated regularly, and it gives them fast and immediate access to engaging video content, as you say. That's really interesting. Could you maybe share some examples of when you've used video for knowledge sharing and what kind of impact you've seen on the use of that video?
So one of our main topics around organisations in our area over the last probably 4 years has been special educational needs and how we communicate some really crucial, quick information across up to it's nearly 40,000 staff in not only the NHS but in our county councils. So I think this was at a meeting, it was discussed, how could we do this? Was it bringing people into training and all the expense that's going to involve? So I just suggested, why are we not making a video, a 5 minute quick video that's been put together with the service users themselves being in it. So there's live video footage, but it's probably about half and half live footage, and the other half is being built with Powtoons itself, and we've animated scenes within that video. That was then put out as a link, as a video link to some of the organisations, and for some of us we've embedded that video within our own e-learning for that topic. And like I said, it's been watched over 40,000 times, and that'll just continue because it gets watched every 3 years, and we can update it whenever we want. So that's been one of our topics.
One of the videos you've made that's had quite an impact is around breastfeeding and a breastfeeding course itself. Could you elaborate on that a little bit and what you use Powtoon for in that instance?
So again, this was a course that our clinical staff were training over and over and over again with parents to be, or parents that have got children already, and they wanted a way of being able to get that information out that could just be watched quickly and at any point in time. So whether that's on a phone, that was on a tablet or on a computer, it's about how quickly can we get that to people. So yeah, we did design the course within our e-learning software, but within it there's a vast amount of Powtoon animated sections that have been created within that video, and that was then pushed out internally and externally, and it's been well received by members of the public who have watched that course. Yeah, it's really good.
What impact did the use of that video achieve, for example? What kind of results are you seeing?
So the feedback from members of the public to our staff has been brilliant, because it's the first time they've been able to actually watch something rather than having to travel somewhere to come on a course for maybe, even if it's only half an hour, that's still an expense for people. It's still time out of their day. Yeah. So again, it goes back to, like, within our own services, it's about time for people. So to be able to provide that information in a bite-sized format that was available on a phone, most people have watched it on phones. That's just beneficial for them. And internally, what it's done, it's made our staff who initially started that process off think about what can they do next. So they're now on to their next course and want to update the course we've got already. So it's led from one thing to another.
I really like as well your emphasis on bite-sized learning and the ability for NHS staff and the public to access video content at leisure, right? And you mentioned a few times, you've alluded to people being able to download video course content onto their phones, and that's really key, I think, because as you say, and especially in the NHS, which is, you've said, and of course it's well known that staff are crazy busy in terms of in terms of the workloads that they have. This is often something that's well known in the public domain. So how do staff, for example, find time to learn content and upskill themselves? And the fact that you refer to bite-sized video is so relevant because, of course, people now have access, or through the use of video engagement, they now have access to, as you say, they may be on the train on the way home, they may be on the bus, and they have the time now to pop on their video, to open their phones, pop on a video, and being able to absorb that information that way, rather than, as you say, trying to find time during the day, trying to find time to read PDFs and emails. It's just not so accessible. So bite-sized video content, I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. In terms of knowledge engagement, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges within industry that isn't really being talked about enough?
So, to be honest, pre-COVID, video as a replacement to face-to-face training was not well received by our staff. They were very ingrained in classroom-based training, travelling all over 1,000 square miles of sunny Dorset to come to a course for maybe 3 hours and go back home again. When they're really, really busy, that's not a really good use of their time or ours. So once teams realised, and this was really during COVID, that making a video once compared to training staff on a weekly basis, then this frees up time for them to spend with their patients. It spends time to them to support their own staff as well. And the one thing that's now being seen as the next step in is animated videos. We're really pushing that now because this medium is totally different. It reaches a different audience, and it's more conducive of learning compared to a normal video as well. So it can be quite engaging depending on how it's been built. So although COVID for us has been, for most people, it's been really negative, within our own service, it's, for the past 2 years, it's actually had quite a positive effect. So it's helped us sort of drive video content. It's helped us make more animated content, and it's also helped us secure the investment to do that as well. Because I think we would have had that investment to buy licenses, to buy equipment, to be able to do all the editing, but we've done that, and we've used our sort of resources quite smartly, I suppose, to look forward to the future as to where things are going. So compared to the benefits of in learning it provides, on the back of all of it, it's about the amount of time and money we've saved, which then releases our staff to go and do what they're actually paid to do, which is look after people in a clinical role. Um, and that's what we hear on the news all the time. The clinical staff are really, really, really busy, don't have time to do stuff. So the more we can release them to do that, the better it is.
As you said there, in terms of like visual communications and video content, you've been able to reduce the amount of training time it takes because you don't have to teach the same course over and over again because you've created a video which teaches a particular topic or a particular module which can just be reused time and time again to train new staff. That's interesting. You mentioned...
I can probably give you one really good example
yeah.
of that. So when COVID first hit, the first video I actually made to replace a face-to-face course was our appraisal training that I was delivering for like 4 years, twice a week, 3 hours at a time, people travelling all over to come in and have that training. And that got really narrowed down to about a 35-minute video with screen captures of systems as well. And we're not going back to face-to-face training for that. So that one course on its own that's been made into a 30-minute video is saving the organisation probably £60,000 plus ongoing every year. But we've made 800 videos. So the cost is just phenomenal, really. The amount of money you're saving is crazy.
You know what's it's really good though to hear that there is a tangible return on investment in terms of creating video content, not just because it's more engaging, not just because it's nice to watch, it's not, you mentioned animation, it's nice to use, it's more engaging, but there is actually a tangible ROI. There is an actual tangible reason for switching, as you say, from in-person teaching, which, as you say, has all the travel costs, food costs, location costs, whatever the case may be, to digital learning, video learning. And as you say, the costs, the cost reduction, if you like, the cost saving is really significant. That's very interesting to hear.
Some of the things we're doing as well is where we've got some video learning, that's on our learning management platform for people to watch coming into a sort of Microsoft Teams training or catch-up session. So not even a training session, it's more go and watch the video and then come to a catch-up session where we can just ask you some questions over that video, or you can ask us some questions. So again, for our educators, it's just a completely different way of understanding how people pick up information and learn. And they've struggled with that because it was always like, no, we deliver training in the classroom, and now they've had to completely switch that around. And even though we're going back to some face-to-face training, we're only doing that where it's really, really essential to have that face-to-face engagement. Otherwise, there's just so many other ways of doing it now.
So, Phil, you represent and you work for the NHS Dorset Trust. Is this practice of switching or transitioning to like video learning, is this in practice throughout the other NHS trusts in the UK?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. When I look around, there's still a lot of people going back to how things were done pre-COVID, and that would have been all face-to-face, and there is a place for that. A lot of our clinical work, it needs hands-on, it needs people to meet each other, but there's also another whole lot of work that doesn't need to go that way. And I think organisations really do need to look at how they deliver some of those skills going forward, because once they realise how much that's going to save them, I don't think they want to go backwards. If online is not always the answer, so for us it's always like, is it online? Is it a blended approach of both of those things, or is it a face-to-face? But our face-to-face bit is the thing we think about last, not first.
You alluded to a short while ago about increasing the use of animation, right? Building animations with your video content. One thing I'd be really interested to know is how do you actually measure the impact of video content, of the visual communications, of the video courses that you're building? How do you measure the impact it's having on employees, or possibly to a maybe lesser extent members of the public and patients?
So I think if I go back to our special educational needs and disability video, that was presented to a group of parents, and the feedback we got when they watched that video was sort of stunning. I mean, we're talking tears as well, because wow. They really got the content. The end result was what they wanted, was people to come out of it after 5 minutes understanding what they had to do for somebody with a special educational need who comes into our service or who we interact with. And I don't even think you would have got that from a face-to-face course for a whole day. So, that's a major impact. For our other courses where we've dropped animation in, I think the feedback we get is it's now more engaging. So rather than a piece of e-learning that is just like flip, click next, it's now, I've clicked next, but now I've got a video that's actually playing and teaching me something. And with the addition of things like lip syncing, you've got voices in there as well, whether that's our own or whether that's artificially created voices. That's all there for people now, and that's just more engaging.
So, Phil, in your role as a content creator and technology lead, the fact that you've told me that the patients, the public who saw your special education needs video, the emotions that brought to them, that must give you quite a sense of job satisfaction, I imagine.
I think for me it was like from a suggestion in a room of 12 people who couldn't make a decision on how they were going to push that training out, to just saying make a video because it will make a big impact, and for them not to understand that was going to be the outcome of it, but then the end result was, oh, that worked, why didn't we do that before? And that's what we're hearing a lot now when we're making videos with teams around our own organisation. They've been delivering the training over and over and over again in-house, and now it's like, we've made a video, we don't need to do that anymore, do we? Why did we never do that before? And I'm like, because you just didn't think that was the way you could do it. But now they're thinking completely differently, which I think is really, really good. It's really positive.
Absolutely, and I think attitudes towards video creation for learning and communications are changing all the time. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. I think it's been fantastic listening to you and understanding how the use of video content and visual communication and visual engagement within the NHS has really resonated with your employees and staff, and of course made an impact on patients. The special education needs video was particularly interesting to hear about. So Phil, thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time. And that is the end of the podcast. So anyone who's been listening, thank you so much. Anyone who's been watching the video element, thank you so much for joining as well. Until next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.